General Hospital spoilers reveal that in the tangled, volatile world of Port Charles, betrayals are currency, and secrets have the power to destroy empires. And now, Sonny Corinthos finds himself at the heart of a betrayal so deep, so personal, that even for a man hardened by decades of violence and deceit, this one hits with unparalleled force. The mask has finally slipped. Sonny now knows the truth. Nina, the woman he once opened his heart to, the one he forgave against all reason for her deception in Nixon Falls, has been feeding sensitive information straight into the hands of his enemy, Jen Sidwell. The revelation detonates like a bomb, sending shockwaves through every corner of Sonny's carefully fortified world. What began as suspicion now stands as undeniable truth. Nina has betrayed him, and this time, the damage may be beyond repair. Nina's betrayal is not random, nor is it rooted in revenge. It is a calculated, desperate move driven by one thing, her obsession with saving Willow. In her mind, every compromise, every whispered confession to Sidwell, was justified by maternal instinct. She had convinced herself that her actions were noble, that protecting her daughter from the collateral damage of Sonny's world was more important than preserving her relationship with him. But what she failed to understand is that in Sonny's world, betrayal, no matter how well-intentioned, is a death sentence. Her decision to leak information about Sonny's conflict with Sidwell, his movements, and potentially even his connections, was the final straw in a string of poor choices masked as sacrifice. Sonny had given Nina something he rarely offered anyone: trust. He let her into his world, his family, his business-adjacent reality. He shielded her from his enemies, protected her from the backlash of her own mistakes, and even endured being alienated from his children because of her. But now, all of that is dust. The rage inside him isn't just about tactical betrayal, it's about emotional devastation. To be betrayed by a rival is expected. To be betrayed by the woman you once envisioned building a future with is unforgivable. It unearths a deeper, more primal wound, one that makes Sonny unpredictable, even to those closest to him. As the truth unravels, chaos spreads. Jason, always Sonny's anchor and voice of reason, urges caution, but even he knows there may be no walking Sonny back from this cliff. Carly, long wary of Nina, wastes no time in declaring that she was right all along. For her, Nina's actions aren't just a personal slight, they're validation that the woman who once tried to erase her from Sonny's life was never truly trustworthy. Drew, who has been applying pressure on Nina from the shadows, steps further into the light, wielding the full weight of her secrets against her. Tracy watches with cold satisfaction, knowing she's finally pulled the right string to watch Nina unravel. Meanwhile, Sidwell remains a looming specter, benefiting quietly from the fracture he's helped orchestrate. His acquisition of Windmere was only the beginning. His real prize is the complete dismantling of Sonny's network, starting with his personal life. And with Nina now exposed, he has one less liability and one more advantage. He doesn't need Nina anymore. Her usefulness has expired, and the fallout she's created only strengthens his hand. But perhaps the most tragic part of it all is that Nina never intended for things to collapse so violently. Her alliance with Sidwell was meant to be brief, tactical, and unseen. She thought she could control the consequences. She believed that by sacrificing Sonny's secrets, she could protect Willow, keep her place in Amelia and Wiley's lives, and somehow keep Sonny close enough to maintain the illusion of unity. But she underestimated the weight of her own deception, and the man she chose to deceive. Sonny confronts her, not with shouting, but with an eerie, measured silence that is far more terrifying than rage. He looks at her not as a lover or a partner, but as an adversary, one who knew where to strike and did it anyway. Their shared memories, of love, survival, the second chances after Nixon Falls, now twist like knives between them. He accuses her not only of betrayal but of cowardice, of choosing manipulation over truth, of pretending she was something she never was, loyal. The confrontation spirals into emotional destruction. Nina begs, pleads, invokes Willow's name, but Sonny doesn't flinch. He has seen too much, lost too many, and bled too long to let this one go unanswered. He tells her what she fears most, that whatever love once existed between them has now died. And with that death comes consequence. He doesn't need to raise his voice or issue threats. The look in his eyes is enough. Nina knows, she is no longer safe. But the consequences don't stop with just her relationship with Sonny. Willow, who had only just begun to allow her mother into her life, now questions whether that fragile door should have been opened at all. Her heart breaks at the realization that her mother's love, though sincere, was once again used as justification for morally indefensible choices. Willow sees through the excuse and begins to question everything, from Nina's intentions to her own desire for reconciliation. Trapped, isolated, and hunted by her own regrets, Nina becomes a pariah. The woman who once stood in the Corinthos' inner circle now finds herself outside the gates, cast into the cold. Even those who once offered her the benefit of the doubt, Olivia, Ava, even Sasha, begin to distance themselves. Her attempts to explain fall on deaf ears. Her justifications ring hollow. And slowly, she begins to realize the full cost of trying to play both sides in a war where survival demands unwavering loyalty. The dynamic between Sonny and Nina has now mutated into something dark and volatile. Their story, once a complicated love affair born out of memory loss and second chances, has evolved into psychological warfare. Sonny doesn't want to hurt Nina, he wants her to feel the magnitude of what she's done. And Nina, once so confident in her ability to navigate crisis, now stands on trembling ground, wondering not if she'll lose everything, but how soon. As Port Charles braces for the next tremor, one truth remains certain. This isn't just the end of a relationship. It's the beginning of something much more dangerous. A war born from love turned sour, from secrets unearthed. And from a woman who gambled with trust and lost everything. Nina tried to save her daughter. Now she must save herself, from the man she betrayed, from the enemy she enabled, and from the self-inflicted storm that could leave her with nothing but ruin. Despite the avalanche of betrayal that has come crashing down around him, Sonny finds himself trapped in an emotional paradox he cannot escape, because no matter how deeply Nina has hurt him, no matter how dangerously close she came to destroying his empire from within, he still cannot bring himself to completely sever her from his heart. The revelation that she leaked vital secrets to Sidwell should have marked the end of all ties, the death sentence of their connection. And yet, in the quiet moments when fury fades and the world slows down, Sonny still feels the weight of her absence in ways he cannot control. This is no longer just about justice or survival, it's about obsession, vulnerability, and the curse of love that refuses to die. Sonny is a man who's built his life on control, control of the streets, control of loyalty, control of every possible outcome. But Nina was never part of any calculated equation. She was chaos wrapped in compassion, deception cloaked in longing. And despite everything, Nixon falls, the lies, the manipulation, and now the betrayal to Sidwell, Sonny can't extinguish what he still feels. Her name lingers on his mind like a wound that refuses to close. He sees her face not as an enemy, but as a contradiction. The woman who destroyed him and the woman he once believed had saved him. And that contradiction is tearing him apart. This emotional paralysis is beginning to show, not just in Sonny's private moments, but in the way he approaches his war with Sidwell. The sharpness he's known for is faltering. The rage he used to channel into power moves is now tangled in internal conflict. Those closest to him, Jason, Carly, even Dante, are beginning to see the cracks. They know Sonny should have struck back by now, made an example of Nina, cut her out entirely. But he hasn't. And that hesitation isn't strategic, it's emotional. It's proof that, despite everything, Nina still holds a piece of him, and he can't bring himself to destroy it. This is the haunting transformation now overtaking Sonny, the change he never wanted, and the weakness he never imagined showing. The man who once ruled the underworld with absolute authority now finds himself second-guessing, stalling, spiraling. Every step he takes towards Sidwell is hindered by the ghost of Nina's touch, by the echo of what they had. It's affecting his instincts, clouding his judgment, and putting his people at risk. His enemies can sense it, Sidwell especially. He knows Sonny's pain is now his greatest weapon. The more Sonny hesitates with Nina, the more advantage Sidwell gains. And Nina, from her exile, feels this too. She may have betrayed him, but she knows Sonny better than most. She knows he cannot erase what he feels, even if he wants to. That's what terrifies her most, not his revenge, but his silence. Because silence, in Sonny's world, often precedes destruction. Yet this time, the silence is different. It isn't loaded with punishment, it's drowning in sorrow. That sorrow has become the most dangerous energy in Port Charles, one that threatens to implode rather than explode. Because if Sonny can't let go of Nina, he can't fully engage in the war he needs to win. And so, a new transformation begins to take shape. Sonny, once unwavering and unflinching, is now confronting a battle he never prepared for. The war within himself. Every time he looks at Windmere, every time he hears Sidwell's name, he doesn't just see a threat to his territory, he sees Nina's fingerprints. Her presence lingering in the shadows, a reminder of how deep the betrayal runs and how badly it still hurts. The war with Sidwell is no longer just about territory or power, it's about purging the part of himself that still longs for something that should have been buried. But Sonny can't do it, not yet. Maybe not ever. That is what truly terrifies the people around him, the possibility that the man they've followed for years, who's survived ambushes, assassinations, and betrayals without blinking, might now be undone not by bullets or enemies, but by love. This obsession, this haunting love, this impossible contradiction, it is now rewriting the narrative of Sonny's legacy. The longer he delays, the more power Sidwell accumulates, and the closer Port Charles inches toward chaos. Everyone is waiting for Sonny to make his move, the kind of move that defines him. That reclaims control and strikes fear into anyone who doubts him. But what if he can't? What if this is the moment Sonny Corinthos, the king of control, has finally been disarmed, not by a rival, but by the very woman who once claimed to love him? And so, the battlefield expands beyond docks and deals. It now rages inside Sonny's own soul, where love and vengeance wage war in silence. The consequences of Nina's betrayal are everywhere, but the most devastating of all may be this: she hasn't just endangered Sonny's empire, she's poisoned the very heart of the man who built it. A powerful shift is taking place beneath the surface of Port Charles, one fueled by betrayal, obsession, and the slow unraveling of moral boundaries. At the center of this storm stands Nina. Once a woman desperate for love and redemption, now consumed by a singular drive, to destroy Drew before he destroys her. The emotional devastation of losing Sonny's trust has not softened her, it has hardened her resolve, sharpened her instincts, and pushed her into darker territory than ever before. And as her world narrows to a battlefield of survival, an unexpected ally emerges from the shadows, Liesel Albrecht. With her clinical precision, cold logic, and fiercely protective nature, Liesel becomes both weapon and confidant in Nina's escalating campaign. This new alliance marks one of the most unsettling transformations in Nina's journey. No longer playing the role of the misunderstood victim, Nina has begun to embrace the role of strategist, willing to manipulate, scheme, and even destroy to protect what little control she has left. Liesel, whose loyalty has always been reserved for a select few, sees in Nina both a kindred spirit and a desperate soul too deep in the fire to pull back. Together, they begin constructing a plan to neutralize Drew once and for all, not with violence, but with destruction through influence, exposure, and psychological warfare. It's not about winning anymore, it's about making sure Drew loses. The obsession grows more dangerous by the day. Nina's priorities are no longer dictated by emotion, but by the cold clarity of survival. She is laser-focused, ruthless, and willing to make sacrifices she once never imagined. The maternal softness that once defined her is now replaced by a chilling determination. Her connection with Willow is no longer about love, it's about leverage. And her alliance with Liesel is no longer about family, it's about results. But as Nina dives deeper into her campaign against Drew, Sonny reappears on the periphery with something unexpected. A new proposition. Despite everything, the betrayal, the damage, the unraveling trust, Sonny senses that Nina's war with Drew may align, even slightly, with his own growing concerns. Drew has become a volatile element, dangerous in ways Sonny can no longer ignore. And in a move that no one could have predicted, Sonny begins to consider whether he can use Nina's vendetta as a tool for his own agenda. This moment marks a profound shift in their dynamic, one not rooted in love, but in strategy. Sonny doesn't trust Nina anymore, but he understands her. He knows what she's capable of now, and that knowledge becomes the basis for a cold, transactional offer. Help me neutralize Drew. And in return, I won't destroy what's left of you. It's not a reconciliation, it's a chess move. And Nina, consumed by her own obsession, is more than willing to listen. What follows is a descent into psychological madness. The lines between ally and enemy begin to blur. Nina and Sonny, once entangled by passion, are now bonded by manipulation and mutual interest. Liesel, ever the puppeteer, begins to mold Nina into something new, something terrifying. The woman who once sought redemption through love now seeks dominance through control. The world she once feared is now the world she thrives in. And Drew, unknowingly, becomes the focal point of an escalating war he doesn't yet understand. While he believes he's holding power over Nina, he's unaware of the storm brewing behind her eyes, or the fact that Liesel is now orchestrating a silent retaliation that may destroy his influence from the inside out. The narrative is shifting. And Drew is no longer the aggressor, he is the prey. This convergence of obsession, betrayal, and strategic alliance is birthing something new in Port Charles, a war not of fists or bullets, but of minds and intentions. A war where Nina, Sonny, and Liesel are now operating in a gray zone where morality is fluid, and survival is the only currency. The emotional hauntings of the past, Nixon Falls, Jacinda, the Sidwell exposure, now fuel every calculated move. No one is innocent anymore, and everyone is watching for the next fracture. As the obsession intensifies, so does the sense of madness. Nina is no longer the woman anyone recognizes. Sonny, once the unshakable center of power, now finds himself navigating chaos by aligning with the very woman who nearly destroyed him. Liesel, enigmatic and lethal, is silently pulling strings that could collapse the fragile equilibrium of Port Charles. The world is shifting, and what emerges from the ashes will not be peace, it will be reckoning. This is not just a story of betrayal. It's a story of transformation. A story of how love curdles into vengeance, how trust collapses into strategy, and how obsession becomes the only truth left standing. Nina's war with Drew is only the beginning. With Sonny's chilling offer on the table, and Liesel quietly building an empire of psychological destruction, Port Charles is headed toward a reckoning more twisted, more personal, and more explosive than ever before. And at the center of it all is a woman who once only wanted love, and now wants the world to burn. A shocking new chapter is unfolding in Port Charles, one that defies logic, loyalty, and every rule Sonny Corinthos once lived by. In a move no one could have predicted, Sonny and Nina, once torn apart by betrayal and raw emotion, are now on the verge of forming an unholy alliance. Their target? Not just Sidwell, the cold, calculating manipulator who's been pulling strings from the shadows, but also Drew, the man who once posed as a friend, a lover, and is now seen as an emerging threat to both of them. What began as a love story collapsed into chaos, and from those ashes rises something darker, more calculated, and far more dangerous. Cooperation born from necessity, vengeance disguised as strategy. Sonny, long viewed as the ultimate enforcer of loyalty and consequence, now finds himself cornered in a war he can't win alone. Sidwell's influence is growing, his reach extending beyond the docks and into institutions that even Sonny can't touch. Meanwhile, Drew, no longer the clean-cut moral compass he once pretended to be, has evolved into a manipulator in his own right. Armed with secrets, corporate connections, and a simmering vendetta. Drew poses just as much a threat to Sonny's control of Port Charles as Sidwell does. And standing between them both is Nina. The woman Sonny swore he could never trust again, but also the only person who knows both men from the inside out. For Nina, the decision to work with Sonny doesn't come from forgiveness, it comes from fury. She's watched Drew use their past connection as a weapon. Watched him manipulate Tracy and corner her into a desperate game of survival. She's tasted the fallout of being betrayed and isolated. Now, like Sonny, she wants blood. And she knows the game well enough to understand that revenge in Port Charles isn't won with tears, it's won with precision and cold alliances. The fact that Sonny, the very man she nearly destroyed, is now open to joining forces proves just how desperate the landscape has become. Their agreement isn't spoken with trust or warmth. It's transactional, taught with buried emotion, yet laced with mutual benefit. Sonny brings power, infrastructure, and the ability to eliminate threats with surgical accuracy. Nina brings access, insight, and a psychological understanding of both Drew and Sidwell that no one else possesses. Together, they can dismantle both enemies from the inside out, Drew's rising influence in the corporate world, and Sidwell's calculated manipulation of the criminal underbelly. The plan isn't just about survival anymore. It's about domination. And once they move, there will be no turning back. What makes this alliance so explosive is not just the stakes, it's the personal nature of the war. Drew once held Nina's heart and Sonny's respect. Sidwell was once an obscure outsider. Now, both men have become central to the unraveling of power in Port Charles. And Sonny, driven by a cocktail of unresolved emotion and growing instability, sees this dual strike as the only path to reclaiming control. Nina, now hardened by betrayal and backed by Liesl's ruthless support, sees it as her redemption through destruction. The ripple effect of this alliance begins immediately. Jason watches with unease as Sonny, usually clear-eyed and cold, begins operating from a place of emotional vengeance. Carly is livid. Furious that Sonny would align himself with Nina after everything, and even more disturbed by the notion that Drew, someone she once trusted, is now being painted as the enemy. Willow, caught in the crossfire, feels her world closing in, unsure whether to protect her mother or walk away forever. Meanwhile, Drew and Sidwell remain unaware that the two people they underestimated most, Sonny and Nina, are now coordinating a silent strike. They continue their own moves, underestimating the emotional power of shared rage. Sidwell still believes Sonny's feelings for Nina are a weakness. Drew still thinks Nina is broken and desperate. But neither man realizes that the pain they caused has now been weaponized. The trap is being set, and when it snaps shut, it will not discriminate. What's most disturbing is how natural the cooperation between Sonny and Nina becomes. In the midst of chaos, they find a twisted rhythm, understanding each other's moves, anticipating reactions, operating with the eerie synchronicity of people who once knew each other deeply. There's no rekindled romance, no longing gazes, just the clinical, electric tension of two people driven by betrayal and bound by a mission. The partnership isn't romantic, it's nuclear. And Port Charles won't be ready for the fallout. This shocking collaboration signals a tectonic shift in the power structure of the city. Sonny is no longer simply reacting to threats, he's redefining the rules. Nina is no longer pleading for forgiveness, she's pulling the trigger. Together, they are chaos incarnate, and every player in Port Charles, from the Quartermains to the Corinthos crew, from the legal system to the black market, is about to feel the tremors of their decision. Because this isn't just a temporary truce. It's a new era. One where the past is weaponized. Emotion is currency, and enemies are erased, not confronted. And if anyone underestimates Sonny and Nina working together, they'll soon learn the truth. Two broken people, once at war, are far more dangerous when united in vengeance.